Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something. When a man and a woman stop contacting each other, it means one of three things. First, it could mean they were never really connected in the first place. See, real connections don't fade overnight. If two people can go days, weeks, or even months without reaching out, chances are that bond wasn't as deep as one of them thought. A relationship is like a fire. You stop feeding it, it dies out. Love, care, and commitment all require effort. A lot of people get into relationships because they like the idea of companionship, but not everyone is truly invested. If you can go without talking to someone who was supposed to mean something to you, ask yourself if they ever really did. Maybe you liked their company or they filled a void, but deep down, they weren't the one for you. Sometimes two people just drift apart. Not because of a fight, not because of anger, but simply because they were never meant to stay. You ever notice how some people come into your life for a season? They show up, bring joy, teach you something, and then slowly fade away. That's because not everyone you meet is supposed to be in your life forever. If the contact stops, maybe it's life telling you that chapter is closed. Think about it. When you really care about someone, you find a way to keep them in your life. You send that good morning text. You ask about their day. You check in even when you're busy. Love doesn't make excuses. A man in love doesn't forget to call. A woman in love doesn't ignore your message. If there's no contact, there's no real effort. And if there's no effort, then maybe the feelings weren't as real as you thought. Second, one of them is waiting on the other to make the move. Now, this is where pride gets in the way. A man might be thinking if she wanted me, she'd call. A woman might be thinking if he really cared, he'd text. And so they both sit there staring at their phones, waiting for a message that never comes. Let me tell you, love is not about keeping score. If you care, reach out. Don't let a good thing slip away just because you were too proud to make the first move. Some people are too stubborn for their own good. They think reaching out first means they lost, like it's some kind of game. But love is not a game. It's not about winning or losing. It's about connection. And when you let pride get in the way, you risk losing something that could have been beautiful. How many relationships have ended not because of a real problem, but because neither person wanted to pick up the phone? Think about all the times you've had a misunderstanding with someone, and instead of talking it out, you both just stop calling. Then days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and now you barely even remember why you stopped talking in the first place. But by then it's too late. The connection is broken. What if I told you that one simple text, one phone call, could change everything? Instead of waiting, instead of playing games, be the bigger person. If they matter to you, don't let pride stop you from reaching out. But understand this, if you're always the one making the effort, if you're always the one fixing things, then maybe it's time to step back. Love is a two-way street. If they truly care, they'll meet you halfway. Third, and this is the hard truth, it could mean one of them has moved on. And listen, if someone has moved on from you, don't chase them. If they're meant to be in your life, they'll be there. If not, let them go with grace. The worst thing you can do is try to hold on to someone who doesn't want to be held. Love is about mutual effort. If they wanted to talk, they would. This is the part that hurts the most. The realization that someone you cared about doesn't feel the same way anymore. Maybe they lost interest. Maybe they found someone else. Maybe they just don't see a future with you. And that's okay. Not everyone who comes into your life is meant to stay. Some people are just passing through. The biggest mistake people make is chasing someone who has already made up their mind to leave. You beg, you plead, you try to remind them of all the good times, but if their heart is somewhere else, Nothing you say will change that. It's painful, but the best thing you can do is accept it and move on. When a person stops contacting you, pay attention to their actions. If they don't call, don't text, don't check on you, then they've already made a decision. And instead of wondering why, instead of making excuses for them, take it for what it is. Someone who cares will always find a way to be in your life. Someone who doesn't will always find an excuse to leave. People think love is about words, but love is about actions. Someone who truly loves you won't just say it, they'll show it. They'll call you, they'll check on you, they'll make time for you. If you have to keep questioning whether someone cares, that's your answer right there. And let me tell you this, if someone leaves your life, let them. Don't hold on to something that's already gone. Because the moment you stop chasing the wrong people, the right people will find you. The person who truly wants to be with you won't make you question where you stand. They won't disappear. They won't go days without talking to you. They won't leave you guessing. So if a man and a woman stop contacting each other, ask yourself, was the connection even real? Are you letting pride keep you from reaching out? Or is it time to accept that they've moved on? The answer to those questions will tell you everything you need to know. A man might be thinking, if she wanted me, she'd call. A woman might be thinking, if he really cared, he'd text. And so they both sit there staring at their phones, waiting for a message that never comes. Let me tell you, love is not about keeping score. If you care, reach out. Don't let a good thing slip away just because you were too proud to make the first move. Some people are too stubborn for their own good. They think reaching out first means they lost, like it's some kind of game. But love is not a game. It's not about winning or losing. It's about connection. And when you let pride get in the way, you risk losing something that could have been beautiful. Relationships are built on communication, and when two people refuse to speak because they are both waiting on the other, they create distance where there used to be closeness. That distance can grow, and before you know it, a bond that once felt unbreakable is nothing more than a memory. How many relationships have ended, not because of a real problem, but because neither person wanted to pick up the phone? Think about all the times you've had a misunderstanding with someone, and instead of talking it out, you both just stopped calling. Then days turn into weeks, weeks into months, and now you barely even remember why you stopped talking in the first place. But by then, it's too late. The connection is broken. It happens more than we like to admit. Two people who still care about each other, who still think about each other every day, let their relationship fade away because neither of them wants to be the one to make the first move. It's a battle of egos, a test of who cares less. But what's the prize? Loneliness, regret, a love story that never got to reach its full potential. The truth is, people don't always say what they feel. A man might miss a woman, but convince himself that if she really cared, she would call. A woman might miss a man, but tell herself that if he was truly interested, he wouldn't need a reminder. And so both of them sit in silence, waiting for a moment that never comes. Pride is one of the biggest killers of love. People hold back because they don't want to look desperate. They don't want to be the one who seems to care more, but let me tell you something. Caring is not a weakness. Love is not something to be ashamed of. If you miss someone, tell them. If you care, show it. Because one day you might wake up and realize that your silence pushed away someone who was willing to love you, but they just needed a sign that you felt the same way. What if I told you that one simple text, one phone call could change everything? Instead of waiting, instead of playing games, be the bigger person. If they matter to you, don't let pride stop you from reaching out. So many people live with the regret of what could have been. They wonder, what if I had just called? What if I had just said how I felt? The saddest thing is realizing too late that you let something go when all it took was a little effort to keep it. But understand this, if you're always the one making the effort, if you're always the one fixing things, then maybe it's time to step back. Love is a two-way street. If they truly care, they'll meet you halfway. You can't be the only one keeping the relationship alive. If you always have to be the one to reach out, to fix things, to remind them that you exist, then maybe it's not just pride keeping them away. Maybe they just aren't as invested as you are. It's a painful truth, but a necessary one. There is a difference between reaching out because you care and chasing someone who doesn't want to be caught. If they are waiting for you to call, that's one thing. But if they are simply choosing not to call because they don't care enough to, then that's something you need to accept. When two people love each other, effort comes naturally. No one has to beg, no one has to remind the other to communicate. It just happens because they want to be in each other's lives. If you're always the one reaching out, always the one trying to keep the connection alive, ask yourself why. Ask yourself if they would do the same for you. Ask yourself if they are just waiting or if they have already walked away. People say if they wanted to, they would, and in most cases that's true. When someone truly cares, they don't let silence stretch too long. They don't wait for the other person to make the first move every single time. Love is about effort from both sides. If the effort is one-sided, then it's not love, it's attachment. It's fear of letting go. It's the hope that maybe if you just keep trying, they'll finally show up for you the way you show up for them. It's not easy to tell the difference between someone who is waiting on you and someone who has already moved on. But if you find yourself always being the one to break the silence, always being the one to keep things going, then maybe you already know the answer. Maybe they aren't waiting on you, maybe they're just done. And if that's the case, then it's time to let go. Love should never feel like a competition. It should never feel like a test of who cares less. If you love someone, show it. If they love you, they'll show it too. But if they don't, if they are comfortable with the silence, then maybe it's time for you to stop waiting and start moving forward. The right person will never leave you wondering. The right person will never make you question where you stand. This is the hard truth. It could mean one of them has moved on. And listen, if someone has moved on from you, don't chase them. If they meant to be in your life, they'll be there. If not, let them go with grace. The worst thing you can do is try to hold on to someone who doesn't want to be held. Love is about mutual effort. If they wanted to talk, they would. It's a painful realization, but it's one that needs to be accepted. When someone chooses to stop reaching out, stop calling, stop making an effort, that silence is an answer. People don't just forget about those they care about. If someone truly values you, they will make time for you, no matter how busy they are, no matter what's going on in their life. The moment you have to question whether someone still cares, you probably already know the answer. A lot of people make the mistake of holding on when the other person has already let go. They make excuses for their absence. Maybe they're just busy. Maybe they lost their phone. Maybe something is wrong. And sure, those things happen. but not for days, not for weeks, not for months. If someone truly wants you in their life, they will find a way to be there. The biggest mistake you can make is thinking that chasing someone will make them stay. You beg, you plead, you remind them of all the good times, but if their heart is somewhere else, nothing you say will change that. You can't force someone to love you. You can't force someone to stay. Love has to be given freely. If you have to convince someone to care about you, they never truly did. Sometimes people move on quietly. They don't announce it. They don't give a speech. They just stop calling, stop texting, stop trying. And that silence speaks louder than any words ever could. A person who wants to leave will always find a reason. A person who wants to stay will always find a way. Letting go is one of the hardest things a person can do, but sometimes it's the only thing left to do. Holding on to someone who has already left emotionally will only hurt you in the long run. It will drain you, break you, and make you question your own worth. You will start to wonder what you did wrong, why you weren't enough, why they didn't choose you. But the truth is, sometimes people leave not because you weren't enough, but because they weren't capable of loving you the way you deserve. Loving someone who no longer loves you back is like holding onto a rope that's burning your hands. The longer you hold on, the more it hurts. The pain doesn't come from letting go, it comes from holding on too long. You deserve someone who chooses you, not someone you have to convince. Moving on doesn't mean you forget them. It doesn't mean you stop caring overnight. It just means you accept the reality of the situation. You accept that they have made their choice and now it's time for you to make yours. You can spend your time chasing someone who has already moved on, or you can take that energy and invest it in yourself. Love yourself enough to walk away from anyone who treats you like an option. People always wonder, what if they come back? And sometimes they do. But if someone leaves you, lets you go, and only comes back when they realize no one else is treating them better, is that the kind of love you want? Real love doesn't take breaks. Real love doesn't walk away and then return when it's convenient. Real love stays. The hardest part of moving on is accepting that the love you had is no longer there. The moments, the memories, the laughter, it all meant something, and maybe it still does to you. But if they have moved on, then holding on to those memories won't bring them back. It will only keep you stuck in a place where they no longer exist. There is freedom in letting go. It might not feel like it at first, but one day you'll wake up and realize that the person you thought you couldn't live without is just another chapter in your story. They weren't the whole book. They were just a part of it. And now it's time to turn the page. If someone has stopped contacting you, stopped making an effort, and has clearly moved on, the best thing you can do is respect that. Respect yourself enough to not beg for someone's time and attention. The right person will never leave you guessing. The right person will never make you feel like you are chasing them.